Hank, welcome into the Blitz. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Martin, doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, have you come up for air yet?
Yeah, it's been nice this past week. Had a little break, kind of reset and get started on 2019.
So, speaking of 2019, we want to spend a little bit of time on that. But before we do, Alabama people almost in a meltdown over last week when we talked about this class. It may not be Alabama's biggest class, and maybe the fewest numbers in the lowest rank, but that doesn't mean it's its worst class. And I've tried to explain that to people. But if Alabama fans are reacting this way, and you may not be able to answer this question, and we were the number 2 class behind Georgia, how's the rest of the SEC feeling about recruiting? How did the SEC kind of overall do in terms of the landscape of the country? And I think if we have that conversation, it'll help the Alabama people feel a little bit better about Alabama's recruiting class.
Yeah, I think overall, I think the third ranked team in the SEC was Auburn. They were number 12. So, to still finish in the top 10, number 2 in the SEC, you're still right there in contention with everyone else, or with Georgia. What people don't realize, and we've touched on this a few times, is like Alabama didn't sign the biggest class. They're the number 7 class with 19 commitments. Texas is number 3 with 27. Ohio State has 26. Georgia has 26. That's 7 more players they took to be able to do that. So, to still be in that spot with so few signees, I think that's still pretty big. That just shows how talented the class you signed was. It's number 7 in the country, but it's a numbers thing. And I think Auburn, let's see, I'm looking at the rankings, is number 12, Florida number 14, LSU number 15. So I think overall, compared to the rest of the SEC, I think Alabama did really well. And I think, that's a good way to look at it, to kind of calm everybody down.
All right. Now, as we look at this team, the class, I should say, Alabama has 19, still has 4 scholarships that they could use. And a lot of people don't understand the second National Signing Day is just the first day of the ability to sign. It's not the end. It's just the biggest day of the signing period. Have you heard, other than the kid from the quarterback, potentially grad transfer, is Alabama working the JUCO ranks? Are there potentially any late bloomers, maybe in the D-line position out there that Alabama is going after? Nick Saban touched on that last Wednesday, talking about how they're going to continue evaluating everything and looking out there. And I think I'm not sure how many more junior college guys are unsigned. We have to look at the rankings, but I think they're still keeping their eyes open. They're not going to take a guy just to take a guy. I think they obviously have to fill a certain need, and they're looking to see who's available. Haven't heard of any names yet, aside from Gardner Minshew, the quarterback, who looks like he's going to be taking a visit and potentially joining the class late. It's like you said, the signing period goes until, I believe, early April. So, and honestly, you don't even have to sign a letter of intent. This is just a period where you can get your name locked into a class. So this can go all the way up into the summer. I think Richard Mullaney a couple of years ago didn't join the class until June or July. So there's a lot of time left, and there's still a lot of options out there. And I'm pretty sure at this point, guys can still declare whether or not to be grad transfers throughout the spring. So there's plenty of time left. That was my next question. With Minshew, first question with you on him is he going to be one of those guys that comes in after spring, or is there still some type of loophole that he could even potentially be here on campus for spring? Second, is the grad transfer is still a very viable option for the D-line right up until camp, correct?
Yeah, as I understand it, I don't think there's any limit as to when, if there's a deadline or anything. I'm sure there's a deadline, obviously, but
right.
I'm not sure if that's start of fall camp or at some point in the summer with the semesters or class starts or whatever.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't think they're really going to be limited on when they can do that. I'm sure that goes well into the summer as far as deciding on things. I know a couple years, too, there was a defensive tackle from Utah. I can't remember his name, grad transfer that Bama was looking at. And it was June before he decided. So, yeah, there's really no rush. And then, Gardner Minshew, the quarterback from East Carolina, he's expected to, wherever he goes, enroll in the summer. So I think he's possibly taking the semester off right now with some personal stuff. But, I don't think he would be with the team in the spring. It would be summer before he got on campus.
All right. Well, speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, I know it's already getting rolling. Kind of rank where Alabama this year was kind of down. I think it was a little top heavy and then kind of dropped off from there in the class. But in 2019, how good is the Alabama recruiting class? I know everybody's talking about the top 3 quarterbacks, but this class as a whole is pretty talented from my understanding.
Yeah, you're talking about the state of Alabama?
Just the state of Alabama first.
Oh, yeah. Really strong class. I mean, 2017 we saw was super strong. 2018, a little bit, like you said, top heavy and kind of dropped off. But overall, I mean, top to bottom, the class, 2019 class in the state of Alabama is really talented. The 3 quarterbacks, like you said, Pierce Quick, Bo Nix, and Talia Tagovailoa. You have elite offensive lineman Amari Kite, Clay Webb. I might have already said Pierce Quick back. The quarterback. Christian Williams, the rising cornerback out of Daphne. Really talented inside linebacker out of Birmingham, Jackson Olin, and Vontae Bentley. And I could go on and on. You can go and look at the rankings on 24/7 Sports. But, yeah, just Alabama will be able to fill a lot of need just within the state. Up in Pinson, DJ Dale, Clay Chalkville, 6'3", 265-pound defensive tackle. You can just go down the list. And just a lot of talent in a year that Bama's going to be able to kind of really not regain it, remake its name. I mean, Auburn signed more in-state guys this year, but like we said, I mean, there wasn't a lot of guys they were really targeting in-state outside of Asa Martin and Connis Miller that Auburn got that Bama didn't. So this will be a good year for Bama to kind of retake that lead in the state and kind of outdo Auburn if it so chooses as far as the guys it wants to get in this class.
I know you guys are always working, always going. Alabama currently has 4 commitments. They've had a couple of guys decommit, but still have Alabama as their leader. They just want to enjoy the process, committed early. What is going to be Alabama's biggest need? One of those guys was a running back. One was a lineman. But are those need areas? What's Alabama's biggest need coming out of the 2019 class? I mean, going into the 2019 class?
Yeah, there's a handful. I think linebacker is obviously a very big need. Inside linebacker, especially after this year with not signing Quay Walker or J.J. Peterson or Vernon Jackson for that matter. They got Jalen Moody, but that's just one guy. They're going to need more down the line. So I think inside linebacker and outside linebacker, especially with Christian Miller and Terrell Lewis potentially leaving. I think defensive tackle is very important, or defensive line in general. That'll be a really big area of need, and then obviously quarterback as well. Even if they do get Gardner Minshew, that's a 1-year guy. Who knows what the quarterback roster is going to look like in a year after this spring competition between Tua and Jalen. So they're going to need more quarterbacks, and it's a great year for that with Paul Tyson and Talia Tagovailoa on the radar. And they've been offering a number of other quarterbacks this week too, just kind of keep their options open. So I think, and I did a story on this last weekend. Linebacker, defensive line, and quarterback, I think are three real areas of importance. Kicker, I mean, every area is important. You want to have a strong class in all facets. So we'll see them pursue the best talent at each spot. I mean, offensive line is loaded this year, so they're going to load up there, and so. But yeah, I think if you're asking for like a handful of positions, linebacker, defensive line, and quarterback are important.
All right, you're speaking with Hank South, 247 Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, you mentioned the quarterback situation. Some people said that Alabama kind of missed on some guys because they didn't give them committable offers early enough. and I know quarterback is one of those positions where Nick Saban's approach and philosophy is he really will make an offer, but it's not committable until he sees you in camp or see you throw in person. And I think 5 or 6 guys now have offers from Alabama at the quarterback position. I'm making the assumption Tyson and Tagovailoa have committable offers, but have you heard are these guys getting committable offers, or are these offers to get them to camp?
Yeah, I mean, we say every year. I mean, this is the majority of offers that go out this spring. There's very few that are just, hey, you can commit right now. They obviously want to see you in camp or see you in the spring and evaluate you there, or even see you into your senior season before accepting a commitment. As far as Paul Tyson and Taulia Tagovailoa, I said this on a show earlier this week. I would be surprised if either of them was not a take at this point. They're very familiar with both of those guys. They watched them all season. They've had them in at camps. I mean, they've seen them in person. So I'd be surprised if either of those guys could not commit at this point. Obviously, and I said this earlier, this comes down to Nick Saban's decision. So I mean, they could be holding off, but we'll see. I think they do. I mean, we saw Tua get an offer in March of 2016, and he committed in May, so he didn't go to camp. I think he might have gone out and worked out in April, but yeah, I mean, there's certain guys that, with their film alone and having seen them in the past on visits, they can commit. The offers that have gone out this week, like Ty Evans out of Colorado, Jaden Daniels, and then another kid got an offer last night. I think his name was Sam Howell in North Carolina. Those might be guys that need to come in and throw in the spring, or at least have a staff member see them throw during spring evaluations. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the Nick Saban thing is you get an offer in the spring, that's an invitation to camp. So there's very few that can commit on the spot. But in Paul Tyson and Taulia Tagovailoa's case, since they're so familiar with both of them, I'd be surprised if they couldn't. But again, that's all. That's just my opinion. So we'll see.
Well, Hank, I'm leaning on you for your opinion. You got Tyson and Tagovailoa. How do you pick your poison? I mean, I don't see us signing both of those guys. One's the grandson of the legendary coach, and he's legit. One's the brother of what appears to be potentially the best to ever play here, if he can back up what he did in the second half of the national championship game. How do you evaluate and break that process down?
Yeah, it's tough, and I think it's going to be a case where, Alabama might want to sign both. I think you do. I think this is a year you're going to look at taking 2 quarterbacks, and if you can get both those guys on board, I think this is the year you want to do it. So, they might not have to decide. They might just take both of them. Obviously, they're 2 different quarterbacks. Tyson's got him in size. He's 6'4". Taulia is 5'11". Taulia, I think, is a little bit more pinpoint accuracy. Tyson has a big arm. They both have big arms.
Yeah.
Taulia might honestly be more developed as a passer in this stage than Tua was a couple of years ago.
God! Repeat that. Repeat what you just said.
I'm not a quarterback evaluator, but I think at this stage, 2 years ago, Tua was ranked similarly. I think he was in the top 100 in the composite, but he really started to take off in the spring, and in the summertime, obviously, he was the opening MVP, and then just really had a good senior season. But Taulia's passed for his sophomore season. Taulia had like 4,500 yards or something. He had a really good season at Thompson this year, so we'll see what he does.
Wow.
I'm not saying Taulia is a better quarterback.
I understand. But you can only evaluate where you can evaluate.
I think Taulia is a really polished passer. I think Tyson's got a great arm. He's got the size advantage. So, you really can't go wrong with either. So why not try to sign both?
Try to sign both. All right. Hey, Hank, tell our listeners how they can stay in touch and what you got coming up.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff going on at Bama Online. It's kind of a slower time right now, but there's a big junior day next weekend where a lot of new offers obviously go out, and then recruiting starts to really pick up heading into the spring. You can follow us along on BamaOnline.com, and then on Twitter I tweet out most of my links to my stories back to this site at Hank South 247.
All right, that's at Hank South 247, at Hank South 247. Junior Day information coming up. That's next week. You can follow Bama Online and 24/7 Sports. But hey, don't forget to follow at Hank South 247. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Anytime. Thanks, Martin.